Hey, what's up guys? Today I will be breaking down each of the features of our Market Dynamics Pro indicator, giving you an in-depth guide on what everything is and how to use it. So let's not waste any time and let's get straight into it. Order blocks. Part of our Smart Money Concepts features, order blocks are very useful at showing you exactly where the smart or big money orders are lying within the charts. Typically, these zones work as magnets in the market and they are very good for entries and exits or support and resistance. If you head into settings, you'll find these at the top of the page where you'll also see two options. Order blocks, these are the standard order blocks that will show for your current chart time frame, and MTF order blocks, which are multi-time frame. You can pick the time frame for these here, and this means that no matter what chart you're on, you will be able to see exactly where the order blocks reside for that selected time frame. Our order blocks are also presented with volume data here, which shows you exactly how much of the total volume between order blocks is residing within that specific block, as well as a ranking system to show the strength of a block, soft being a weak block and loud being a very strong block. Back in the settings, you can also choose how many blocks you want to see for each option. The number you input here will be the maximum number of blocks that will appear on your chart, as well as extend mode, which will extend the current order blocks, making sure you can see exactly where they are at all times. Break of structure and change of character. These are incredibly popular smart money concept tools that will assist you in locating trend reversals and continuations. A break of structure typically signals a continuation of a longer term trend, and a change of character typically signals a trend reversal. We have implemented additional volume data within our structure signals, which tracks the amount of bullish and bearish volume between the start of the structure change to the break point. This will then be showcased in a label: green for bullish volume, yellow for neutral volume, and red for bearish volume. This is a great confirmation for your signal. For example, if there is a bullish break of structure with a green label, this confirms that there is more bullish volume, therefore it is more likely to continue in the bullish direction. In the settings, you will find the option to toggle this on or off here, and this box will allow you to input a figure which will determine the frequency of signals. If you'd like to see less signals and focus on the larger, more significant signals, then you would enter a higher figure. And vice versa, if you want to see smaller and more frequent signals, this would be a lower figure. Lastly, we have the LL and HH labels. This signals that the market has made a lower low or a higher high, which suggests the market could continue its current trend. These are accompanied by a PC value, which represents the percentage change from the previous high or low. Fair value gaps. These are a very good smart money tool which can assist you in finding the best entries and exits. They occur when you have 3 consecutive bullish or bearish candlesticks, the middle one being more significant, leading to a gap between the 2 neighboring candlestick wicks. This gap is called a fair value gap, and they have a very good chance of price revisiting. When this happens, it can make a very good entry zone or even a good exit zone if, for example, you entered a trade in anticipation of the fair value gap being retested. You can find this here in settings, along with a chart function which allows you to select a time frame that you can then see on whatever chart you're currently on. Our fair value gaps also show you how much liquidity remains in a gap after it's been tested. As you can see here, when price pushes into a gap, it will show a visual representation of how much liquidity has been absorbed and how much liquidity remains. Lastly, we have the max FVG setting, which is where you can limit the number of fair value gaps you would like to see, alongside the extend feature, which will extend your fair value gaps, making it easier to see them at all times. Liquidity zones. These zones provide key information into market liquidity. Similar to order blocks, they show levels which hold large quantities of orders and can work very well as support and resistance zones. They can be toggled on here, where you can also customize the colors to fit your personal preferences. We have included very important percentage data on each block so you can see exactly which zones are the most significant. The higher the percentage, the more significant the zone. When you see price approaching one of these these zones, it may be a good idea to take some profit, or can even be a good entry point for a trade in the opposite direction. For example, you see price is getting close to a liquidity zone, at the same time the prime oscillator is beginning to flash overbought. With that confluence of indicators, you could enter a position here with your stop loss just above the zone. High time frame candles. This feature now allows you to see the last 3 candles on any 2 other time frames without having to change your chart. If we head into the settings, you can see the option to toggle these on and off here, and below you'll find 2 drop down options for the 2 time frames you wish to see. This can be extremely helpful when trading on lower time frames, as you can keep track of any candle structures that may be forming on the higher time frames, such as an engulfing candle on the 4-hour or daily, for example. We have also given you some extra volume data which you can toggle on here. This will show you the volume of buy and sells between the 3 candles, which is great for sentiment analysis. For example, if you see a higher buy volume, this suggests there is more bullish control and can be a very useful point of confluence. Volume profile. This tool helps you find key levels based on volume and money flow metrics, as you can see represented in these histogram bars. The bars on the left show the deficit between bullish and bearish volume, which allows you to see if there was more buying or selling at each of these levels. The bars on the right show the amount of money exchanged at each level, and also includes a cool feature called the money flow point of control, and this is the level which has seen the most amount of money exchanged. What's interesting about this is that it's actually common to see the money flow point of control different to the volume point of control. So this gives you that crucial extra piece of information to help you find those key levels. The last feature on here is the extend mode, and this simply allows you to extend that point of control for a clearer perspective. You can also disable all the other settings and just leave on the money flow point of control, which then becomes a solo feature, which is very helpful and easy to keep on your charts at all times, showing you the most important level on your screen. Lastly, in settings you will find a drop down menu which allows you to edit the distance from price that the volume profile shows up. This is personal preference, and you can choose between near, mid or far. Premium and discount zones. This feature will provide you with 3 zones on your chart, the top zone being the premium, the middle zone equilibrium, and the bottom zone discount. The discount zone suggests that the current asset is trading at a discount and is undervalued. It also signals more buy-side liquidity in that area. The equilibrium suggests the asset is at a fair price, and the premium zone suggests the asset could be overvalued and due a reversal, signaling more sell-side liquidity in that area. A great way this tool can influence your trading is by looking for long entries around the discount zone, short entries around the premium zone, and utilizing that equilibrium as a take profit zone. These zones also work very well as standard support and resistance. You can toggle these on in settings here alongside a frequency setting, so you can choose whether to focus on longer term signals or shorter term if you're a scalp trader, for example. Predictive ranges. This will produce real-time price action ranges to the upside and downside, providing you with levels of support and resistance which tend to be very well respected. You can also use these levels for targets. For example, if you enter a trade here at the lower gold line, you can set your take profit at the blue center line and your exit trade at the upper gold line. This can be found in settings here, and you will also find a box where you can enter your preferred frequency. 50 is the default, however, if you would like to see smaller and more frequent ranges, you can drop this to a lower value. We also have a chart option here which allows you to select a time frame that you can then see on whatever chart you're currently on. For example, if you like trading the 2-hour chart but prefer the 4-hour predictive ranges, you can simply set this option to 4 hours. Trendlines. This will automatically detect and draw the best trend lines for your current chart. In the settings, we have given you 2 options here, method and type. Method will allow you to choose between small, medium, big and macro. This is incredibly useful to accommodate different trade styles. For example, small will show smaller and more frequent trend lines compared to macro, which is less frequent but bigger and more significant. Type will allow you to choose between wicks and body, which is whether the trend lines will be connected by candle wicks or by the candle bodies, which is also great for accommodating different trade styles. These trend lines can be used for support and resistance and can even help you spot trend reversals. If a strong trend line breaks, this could be a signal that price will continue further in the break direction. Lastly, you can customize the color here as well as toggle on history, which will allow you to see any of the previous trend lines. Chart patterns. A community favorite, this will automatically detect and draw chart patterns for you, as well as providing breakout signals and targets. In settings, you will find a bunch of different options, starting with the pattern colors. Now this is just personal preference, but you can customize the line colors here. Style select is whether you want your patterns to be drawn connected by candlestick wicks or candlestick bodies, or you can use the buffer zone setting, which is drawn using zonal points including both wicks and bodies, providing a buffer helping you avoid fakeouts. For breakout targets, this can be turned on here, and you can choose between either smart targets, which will provide targets accounting for other variables such as volatility, or the classic measured move target. Wedge detection is where you can choose the size of the patterns you wish to see. You can pick between small, medium, big, or macro depending on the type of trader you are. Maximum wedges is the amount of patterns you'd like to see on your charts at once. Channel detection is the same as wedge detection, however this is specifically for trend channels, which you can toggle on here, along with a wrap option, which means it will show the channels that are always tight to price action. Channel history will allow you to see the history of previous channels based on the number you input here. And finally, we have the rest of the tick boxes, allowing you to choose exactly what patterns you wish to see, which includes triangles, broadening wedges, double top pattern, double bottom pattern, head and shoulders, inverse head and shoulders, and finally swing fail, which will produce a little symbol when price attempts to break a swing high or low but fails to sustain it, often leading to a reversal in the opposite direction. Multi-time frame support and resistance. An incredibly helpful feature for seeing where the current support and resistance levels are located on any chart or any time frame. Here in settings, we have a few different settings to run through, starting with the style. Now this gives you the option to choose whether you'd like your support and resistance to show up as lines or zones. This can be very useful depending on the type of trader you are. I personally like using zones as it helps mitigate the risk of fakeouts. The width option here is also for zones. This allows you to choose how thick you want your zones to be. We have also provided an extra data option, which allows you to see a few things such as the current time frame, the price at which the level is on, and finally a ranking system allowing you to determine the significance of a level, 1 being the most significant and 5 being the 5th most significant. Now after you've picked your style, you can toggle on the support and resistance here, which will then allow you to choose the mode. You can choose between local, midterm, extend, or macro. A local mode will pick shorter length support and resistance levels, whereas macro would select longer term levels. The input box next to this will be the amount of levels you see. Then of course these colors will allow you to personalize the color scheme. Finally, we have the MTF support and resistance. This is multi-time frame, and that means whatever time frame you select here in the chart option will show up on whatever chart you're currently on. This is so useful for locating those higher time frame, more significant key levels when trading on the lower time frame charts.